1. We're live. All right. Let's see if we've got our audio going correctly today. Hopefully. Let's see what we got.
Chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.
Hey folks, we are here today. It's time for another NASA Spaceflight Live. We are live on YouTube, I believe, right now. Let me know that you can hear me. It's our second episode ever, so I want to make sure that you can actually hear what I'm saying. I think you can hear me, but chat in YouTube chat for me right quick. I am your host, John Galloway. If you watch my Twitch stream, you may know me as DOS, not trying to confuse anybody, but we are going to get started in just a second. Just let me know that everything's good. Can you hear me? Am I pretty? We've got lots of stuff to talk about today. So yes, okay, people are saying yes, we can hear. It's like, what sort of deal is this? We're doing this all ourselves. We're not we're not like a big news studio or anything like that. So you are our at-home production crew. Honestly, if something goes wrong, tell us, because we need your help to make sure everything's working. But again, it's NASA Spaceflight Live. Got lots of cool stuff to talk about. Return of the Worm, the SN3 failure down at Boca Chica, Soyuz MS-16, a lot of other topics as well. So hang in there. Hey, I want to say one more thing. We're going to be doing a bunch of Q&A today as well, and we're going to try something a little bit different. Instead of just waiting till the end to do Q&A, we'll have specific Q&A periods over the course of the show after each topic. And whenever we get to a Q&A period, what you can do for us is tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight in YouTube chat. That'll highlight it and ask a question relevant to the topic we're talking about. If we get a question that comes through whenever we're at the end of that segment, we'll do a little bit of a Q&A about each topic as opposed to waiting all the way to the end. But nobody came here to see me talk. Let's go ahead and get over to the studio with the rest of our special host today. On the one side, we've got Thomas Burghardt. How's it going, Thomas?
I'm going well. How you doing, Das?
Hanging in there, hanging in there. And on the other side, we've got Chris Gebhardt. Chris, what's up, man?
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
All right, and you may notice today we have corrected the white bar below us. It's actually in the correct order. It's got Thomas's name under Thomas, and then my name under me, and then Chris's name under me. But we will be your host today, talking about different topics, and we also have another very special guest with us. If you've seen any of the crazy, awesome videos coming out of Boca Chica, that is Mary. That is Boca Chica gal, and if everything's working, we should have Mary on the line with us right now. Mary, how's it going?
It's going great.
All
it's
right.
Nice to join you guys.
How are things going out there at Boca Chica? And I'm going to ask you two if they can hear you okay.
Oh, it's going well. They've been busy.
All right. So YouTube, can y'all hear Mary okay? She's dialing in a little bit differently. I want to make sure that you can hear what she's saying as well whenever we start to talk about our first topic today. Mary sounds good. 5x5. Everybody in YouTube says 5x5. All right. So like I said, we have a lot of cool topics to talk about here. To run through them really quickly, we're going to start the show off with some Starship testing talk. Again, lots of cool stuff going on at Boca Chica. And super special, Mary's going to be on with us because she's the one there on the scene seeing what's going on. And she's going to be talking about some of the videos she's taken, answering some questions, pointing out some things, that sort of stuff with Chris. We're also going to have a Vulcan update. To Vulcan, another Thomas topic that's going to be coming up second on the list. We've got Omega as well, talking about the Omega rocket with Chris G. ISS crew rotations are happening as well, so Thomas will be covering some crew rotation news. The NASA worm. Everybody knows about the NASA worm, right? So that's a big topic from this week we'll be covering. We've also got a list of what will be happening next week. Coming up, launches, things on the ISS, and that sort of thing. And then at the very end, if we have any extra time left over, we're going to be doing a little segment we're going to call Max Q&A. It took us forever to come up with that. You guys can laugh. Come on, somebody laugh. I can't hear YouTube chat. Somebody. Anyways, that is our plan here for today. Let's go ahead and just jump right into it with the Starship testing. Chris, you ready to take it away?
I sure am. And Mary, thank you so much for being here with us. I think for people, tell us a little bit about what you feel like when you go out there and are scrolling, strolling through all this cool and awesome stuff literally happening like in your backyard.
I find it all very fascinating. I love seeing what they're doing. I could sit out there all day and watch them.
Yeah, I mean they move so fast that it's I mean every day is like a new adventure out there, isn't it?
It is. It is. You never know what you're going to see. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Definitely. And well, so speaking of cool things, let's go to this video that of the Starship SN3 failure that occurred during fueling out there. And Mary, what they're seeing right now is the video that you took that night. I mean, kind of walk us through what you remember seeing of that evening.
The SN3, when it was being tested, it looked great. It really did. But yeah, definitely something went wrong, whether, it was a valve or what, but that test looked really good. Really did.
How loud was it when it failed?
It wasn't, to me, that loud. It wasn't like the last one. No big boom.
No big boom. Yes, yeah, that's what we want. No.
Yeah. This one was very different. It was more, crumpled.
Yeah. It just kind of looked like it depressurized there, right? And just kind of tipped on over. Maybe it can learn something from the Leaning Tower of Pisa over there, right?
Right. Yeah.
I've got to ask real quick.
Elon,
Chris, can I ask you a question? Mary, when it crumpled like that, I imagine the sound of like a soda can crumpling. Did you hear any crumpling noises, or was it just quiet?
It was quiet until, towards the end. Then you could hear. Well, of course, it takes time for the sound to travel, too.
Right.
But
yeah. Sorry, Chris. Go ahead. I was curious if there was a crumpling noise or something.
No. That's a great. As soon as you asked the question, I was like, oh yeah, like a Coke can crumbling. Yeah, but I know Elon tweeted about this shortly after it happened, saying that it might just be a test setup issue. It kind of sounded like, so hopefully that hopefully that's all it was.
Right.
But at the rate they just seem to be blowing through these, I mean, it seems like we've got a new Starship every week, right, Mary?
Oh, and they've probably got one just about ready. All the sections, they're all hidden in the tents.
That's true. We're going to watch a slightly different angle of the failure of SN3. But while we do that, Mary, kind of what was it like to watch them do this? Because am I right? This was the first time they actually assembled one inside their new assembly building, right? Their big vertical building out there.
Yeah, it was. It's the first time.
Yeah. So what I guess, how did you notice of like what things were in terms of how they were different from the construction of 3 and 1 a couple months ago?
Well, it's done differently. Just how they do the sections, everything is just different. I have a hard time describing, but and everything, it seems to be done at the rear of the tents.
Like hidden where you can't see it?
Where you can't see them, right?
Well, I look for the crane action.
Yes. So moving on to some of the other video that you shot too, some of it includes SN4, the next one, and it looks like they've got quite a few, if not all of the rings already done for it. They could put this thing together relatively quickly, I'd say. Does that sort of match what you're seeing there on the ground?
Yeah, I do believe the bulkhead that was out back, they put the 3-ring section over it and attached it. And I think that may be in the high bay already. But
oh, wow.
Yeah. We can't
because
see that at the moment.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
they've been hauling away those sections of SN3 pretty quick, haven't they?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that I'm always amazed at, and Das, we can go on to the next video with the test prep in the assembly site. But one thing, you know, I had some family come over recently to Florida, and we took them to the Kennedy Space Center, and they were just in awe and amazed at the sheer scale and size of this. And Mary, I don't remember if I told you this the day that I met you in September, when I came down for the big Starship event. But I remember that early morning out there at the photo op, and we were standing there and we were looking at it, and the size of it blew my mind. You know, having been around a lot of this stuff for a while, and the thing that I really could not get over was how far away you can see this thing from. Where it was like we were still like 14 or so miles away, driving in that morning, and Rob and Pauline were with me, and they're like, "Oh, that's it, like right down there, down the road." And I was like, "It can't be. It's too far away." It how does it feel to have something like this built in your, I mean, basically in your backyard?
Well, I love it. Yeah, and I've never been around anything like this before, so I don't have much experience or anything to compare it to, but yeah, definitely, the size of it is amazing for me to watch every step of the way. You know, I've watched Starhopper, Mark 1, SN1, you know, all the test vehicles that are, you know, the test tanks that they've built. It's all amazing, and I enjoy it very much.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, I'm going to jump in real quick. Mary, the video that's on the screen, you look at it and you're like, oh wow, okay, it's a tower or whatever, and then you notice the people, right? Like Chad, people watching at home, the people on the screen sort of help give you. I'm gonna roll the video back a little bit. They give you a sense of scale, right, Mary?
Absolutely.
It's just, you're like, okay, whatever, it's just a tube, it's a tank. But then when you see those people on there, and I have to say really quickly, you do such a fantastic job with the videos. I would be like a squirrel pointing the camera here, pointing the camera there. My video would be terrible. And the videos that you get so that we can upload them to YouTube here are always so good. There's perfect time lapses, so thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
but doesn't each prototype, doesn't it look better, you know, than the previous one?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so much better welding, and just the looks are, I'm impressed with what they do.
Yeah, doesn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, it really does, because like I admit, like Starhopper and SN1 were a bit jarring to us who are used to very clean looking things from SpaceX, right? And very sleek looking things. And it's like, wow, like I think it really hammered home for me, like how much better they're starting to look in terms of like how much of these things are really just in some ways tests to see if it works,
right?
You know, and it really is a testament, I think, to how quickly these teams can learn and move forward,
right,
with these design iterations. Yeah.
The first time I saw a ring going down the highway, going, you know, into the next lot was just something to see, you know. Just pick one up and take it down the highway.
that was just on the screen here. I'm gonna scroll back to it, and it's like it's jiggling around like Jello. I mean, clearly this is sped up. It's a time lapse.
So Mary, one of the people watching, Chris Culberston, wants to know, when you're shooting some of these videos of the construction of the ship, and versus where you film when they're doing like the tanking tests and everything that they were doing this week, about how close are you when you're filming those?
The construction site, I'm always pretty much across the highway. They don't want us on the same side of the highway as the facility. And this is the small little 2-lane highway, right? The one that goes all the way out to the ocean. Right. Yes. Yeah. No matter where you're at, they want you across the street. Same at the launch site. But as far as when SN3 was being tested here, I was about a mile and a half away. Outside, I was outside, the danger zone in my vehicle. They allow it to sit there. And then depending on which other test, sometimes I've been at the sand dunes watching, like the test tank testing. So.
And Frank Bryson also wanted to know how do you prepare each morning, like to go out and shoot all of this stuff and watch it all happen, and about how long are you out there each day?
Oh, how do I prepare? I usually get 1 cup of coffee and then head out the door. That's about it. And as far as how long I'm out there, it could be all day. It could be, it's usually a good portion of the day, really.
Mm-hmm.
Just, there's always something going on.
I appreciate that the first thing you get is the cup of coffee.
Yeah, gotta have at least 1 cup of coffee.
Cameras, batteries, whatever, as long as you have the coffee.
I skipped that. I have skipped that too. But because, see, I walk out the door, look over, and if there's a crane, then I'm gone.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's all about the crane. And those guys, I gotta give them credit. They are amazing. The crane operators, they are very skilled at what they do. Yeah, amazing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be. There has to be a level of nervousness moving like cranes around something that like important. Like just the added level of, oh man, better not hit it, right?
Right. Yeah. And how precise they have to be.
Yeah. Whew. I mean, and it's amazing how precise they can be, still kind of out there in the elements sometimes. I mean, it's, whew. I don't know. It's hard to describe. Like Boca Chica is, it's so open but at the same time so remote that, I mean, you feel totally isolated and like you're in your own little world. At least that's how I felt when I was out there. And just so cool to see a place that until this has not had a connection to the space program suddenly have one of the most important impacts on it.
Right. Yeah. It's very, very cool. Very interesting to watch. And well,
yeah.
SN4 hopefully will be the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, I mean, it's all fantastic. And again, Mary, I mean, I know Das said these videos are awesome. They are for me too. I look forward to them. They're one of the first things I watch every morning when I get up and I'm having my coffee as you're already out, probably filming the next day's round of stuff. But they are truly amazing and wonderful. Thank you so much for everything that you do out there.
Well, you're welcome. I enjoy doing it.
Speaking of amazing video, I just queued up the arrival of SN3 at the launch site, where it's sort of coming out of the mist. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it was so foggy that morning.
I mean, at the beginning of the video,
already past the second gate.
Yeah.
You can really start to really see it. And there's Starhopper.
Yep, just the size difference between the two.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it was just so foggy.
Did it sort of like burn off? The sun comes up and it burns off, or?
Oh yeah, it didn't. Luckily, it didn't take too long, and it started to clear up. But yeah, see, once again, I could see it from my front yard at the high bay, so I could tell.
That's
Yeah. What, Chris? You broke up a little bit there. What'd you say?
Oh, I just said that it's amazing that, I mean, that you can see these from your, from your front lawn. Just
yeah, it really helps.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I know. I'm close to the space center. I'm about an hour north of it, on the highway, and to me that's close. Like I'd be in like my own personal little heaven if I could just walk into my front yard and see all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever get like, are they ever banging on stuff at night and you're like, oh, I can't sleep, stop banging on Starship or
No.
something?
No, no,
They
not
don't
where
make too
we're
much
at.
noise in the middle of the night.
No, no. We keep our windows closed, air conditioning on, and you know, we don't really have a problem at all with noise.
Gotcha. It's
Yeah.
I imagine you wouldn't like run outside and shake your fist at SpaceX anyways, right? Like you'd
No,
probably go film it if you
no.
heard banging.
Progress is being made when you hear the noise.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So Chris, I've gotten us off track a little bit here because I'm butting in sometimes and switching to different videos.
No,
Am I at the right
that's
spot here?
Yeah, no, you totally are. You know, I think we're, I think we're all very eager to see how quickly SN4 is prepped and what the future holds for the next Starship model, because we think it's going to be tasked with some of the static fires, obviously with the static fires and some of the hops that SN3 was supposed to do before its testing failure. So I think we're all just looking forward to the next great video from you, Mary, and looking forward to when SN4 rolls out to hopefully be the first one to fly under its own power here.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. And I know everyone's probably wondering too, you're staying safe and you're doing everything to protect yourself from the virus and everything, right? Mary,
We still have you there? Uh-oh.
Ah,
We might have lost
well,
Mary.
it looks like we lost Mary right at the most inopportune question.
Yeah. Jeez. We'll see just 1 second if we can get her back.
Well,
yeah, Chris, you keep talking about Starship and I'll work on this
Yeah.
technical issue.
Well, I was going to say, welcome to live broadcast. That's what we love about all of this. But yeah, I know I got this question. I know all of us got this question quite a bit this coming week about exactly how quick they would probably be able to get Starship SN4 ready. There doesn't appear to have been a lot that's been said to indicate that it was a hardware problem, so much as Elon saying it was a testing configuration problem, which might actually make Starship SN4 a rather quick build, because if there was nothing that they saw that major that they wanted to tweak about it, it's probably just a case of reassembling what you did with SN3 with the small little tweaks here and there, and then getting it to the pad for its proof testing and cryo testing before mounting a Raptor or 3 into it and firing it up into the air. So, we just look forward to all of that. Yes, Mary,
I might have
we
got
got
Mary
you back.
back.
Yes.
I lost you.
Okay, we got you back though.
Yeah.
All right, problem solved.
What was quite funny is the question I asked that we lost you on that was then dead silence. I was asking that I know a lot of people are asking us that and asking that you're making sure that you're staying safe and protecting yourself from the virus and everything out there, and
Yeah.
you are, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. For the most part, I'm always by myself. Just, wherever I'm at, it's just me. So yeah, definitely a lot of social distancing.
Yes, and at least for you, it is not boring social distancing.
No, it's actually wonderful to be able to keep documenting.
Yeah.
It's the best part of having a camera, right? The camera is an easy way to keep your social distance because photons. So
Because photons, yes. Mary, we had a lot of people on there also thanking you. Jack Bayer, thank you, Mary. Jared saying yay for Mary and all that she does. Someone else saying, Mary, you have provided great and inspirational footage. Thank you. So you've got lots of fans out there. Lots of fans.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's I do it because I love it, and I'm happy to share it. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So, Chris, I think we're coming up to the end of our spot with the Starship goings-ons right now, but we're ready to continue moving on here. Mary, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, you're welcome to stay on the line if you want.
That's okay.
We've got Vulcan and a worm. Okay.
Yeah. It's
But
like,
thank
well,
you guys.
you could stay on the line, but we'd rather cut you loose so you can go film some more Starship stuff.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm sure there's something going on.
All right. So, folks, one more time, put some love in chat over there for Mary. We get these images because Boca Chica gal is out there. It's hot. It's cold. There's mosquitoes. It's windy. It's sandy. And she is out there, I'm going to say, just about every day bringing you these videos of what's going on down at Boca Chica. So, Mary, from everybody that's watching right now, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Excellent. You too.
Thanks,
you too.
Mary.
Stay safe
Thanks,
out there.
Mary.
Yep. Bye.
All right. So our next topic that we have going on, we'll go back over this way.
So Das, I just wanted real quick because I forgot to say some of the names of the people who super chatted us during that time. You know, thanks to Jeff S. Jones. He actually super chatted us before we even went on air.
Nice.
That was awesome. Jared, Jack Bayer, My Friendly Bee, Bimmer Geezer, Eric C, Bob Jotmoon, Urbu Boy, and Future Martian 97. Thanks so much. I know Mary really appreciates it, and so do we.
Yeah, Future Martian said, thanks so much for everything you do, Mary. You have no idea, I can speak. You have no idea how much us space nerds appreciate it. So Future Martian, I think we all agree with you there. All right. So status check. We went through the Starship stuff. We talked to Mary. We got some cool Q&A. We have some videos that we played and stuff like that. We did a little bit of Q&A in real time at the end of Starship. So are we ready to move on?
Sure.
Question mark? Everybody concur?
Indeed.
Okay, cool. So the next topic that we're going to be talking about is the progress of Vulcan. Mike, Thomas, what's going on with Vulcan out there?
Yeah,
and Thomas, it's the Vulcans, right?
Yes, Vulcans, right.
Vulcans.
We're going to talk about another new rocket, but this one's going to be ULAs. Thanks to CEO Tori Bruno, we've got some new pictures of the first stage tanks for Vulcan Flight 1, the liquid natural gas tank, the methane tank, as well as the liquid oxygen or LOX tank, are in the Decatur factory in Alabama and are done. They are ready to be assembled together to make the first stage of Vulcan. Those rockets will feed the BE-4 engine developed by Blue Origin, 2 of them on the first stage. Those engines will be delivered to ULA once they're ready and integrated into that first stage. Also, another piece of hardware that was delivered, the first payload attach fitting from RUAG Space. That's the part that will connect the payload of the flight to the upper stage, the Centaur V stage, Centaur 5 stage, on top of Vulcan. That payload adapter was delivered to ULA for testing. And all of this hardware is going to be used for the first launch no earlier than 2021. It'll launch from Space Launch Complex 41 in Cape Canaveral, Florida, and it's carrying a very interesting payload. It's actually carrying a lunar lander from Astrobotic, the Peregrine lunar lander, and that will carry 14 science payloads from NASA as part of its Commercial Lunar Payload Services program. And it'll also be the first certification flight for the U.S. Air Force as far as getting Vulcan certified to fly national security payloads. So kind of big stakes. Not only are you debuting a new rocket, the new Vulcan rocket, but you're flying something to deep space, a robotic mission to the lunar surface. So lots of progress there on ULA's end, getting ready for a first flight next year.
Nice. Thomas, so I forgot that this was like a 2-minute segment we were doing. And I was listening to you and I'm like, oh, when do I bring up the next picture? And we were already in like the third picture or something like that. So I think I got everything. The Vulcan tanks for the maiden flight, right? We had the picture of the tanks, the BE-4 design we got up there. There was that payload attach fitting, right? Mm-hmm. And then this is the render that I've got up right now that Matt Crawford did for NASA Spaceflight. And then the last thing was the Astrobotic Peregrine lander, right?
Yes.
I'm like,
Sorry, I did speed run that. Just a quick update on Vulcan, though.
yeah, that was a very fast update on Vulcan. When will do we have any other questions? Did we get questions coming through on that one, or let's see?
Let's
Wow.
take a look.
Yeah, I don't see any
Well,
questions.
I actually have one.
Go,
Chris,
yeah.
Is this the first time that is this the first time that a first flight of a rocket is going to send something to the moon?
To the moon specifically. Well,
Huh.
Saturn V did a low Earth orbit mission first, so not Saturn. Trying to think other.
And
I would guess yes. I definitely can't think of anything off the top of my head. Most robotic missions flew on rockets that had flown non-lunar missions before.
yeah, right.
And yeah, the only one that was kind of like purpose-built for moon missions was Saturn V, which had that low Earth orbit mission. So I would guess yes. I don't want to definitively confirm that, but I think you're probably right.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of
it's
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, neither could I. I mean, it's a remarkable first mission.
Yeah.
Era, and my gosh, yeah.
And not only, there's the part of going to deep space and going to the moon, but you also have it's a NASA mission, so a little extra, I don't know if importance is the right word, a little extra flair for a big time NASA mission. So yeah, big stakes for Vulcan's first flight.
Gotcha. There's a couple questions we can grab real quick.
Okay,
where
cool.
are they building? Where are they building this at right now?
Vulcan is built at ULA's facility in Decatur, Alabama, the same factory that's currently producing the Delta IV and Atlas V rockets. They are phasing out the Delta IV assembly line and slowly replacing it with Vulcan hardware.
Gotcha.
So yeah, yep.
Okay, cool. And there was a let's see here. Do we know how much Vulcan costs yet? Of course, that's always a question somebody's going to ask.
Right. I don't. We have. I think there's been some numbers thrown around. There's no official numbers yet, so I'm not going to quote anything.
Yeah.
We know it is supposed to be cheaper than ULA's current offering of vehicles, Atlas V and Delta IV, while offering even more payload capacity. So they're kind of improving the two major parts of what makes a rocket attractive to customers.
Gotcha.
And that's through a lot of changes in their manufacturing techniques and things like that. To really optimize Vulcan to be a next generation launcher.
Nice. And one last question on Vulcan
Sure.
timetable. When are we expecting it to get somewhere?
So right now, first flight will be no earlier than 2021, and that'll be that astrobotic mission, yeah. And we're expecting the second flight of Vulcan to also occur in 2021. And then after that, it'll be a slow ramp up of cadence. And I believe by 2022, no, that's not right. I think by 2024, Tory Bruno has told us that he's expecting for Vulcan to reach Atlas V's current launch cadence. So slowly ramping up and phasing out the old ULA rockets. 2 flights in 2021, ramping up from there.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So what's going on with Vulcan? Go ahead, Chris.
Well, it's worth mentioning too, right? This is the first rocket that ULA has actually designed from the ground up, because
Like
they
ULA.
inherited the Atlases and the Deltas from Lockheed and Boeing. Yes.
Yep. And they do have. It's not the first Vulcan. It's not the first rocket hardware to fly that they've designed, because they're actually flying some Vulcan hardware on current rockets. They've already changed the avionics on their launch vehicles to be this common avionics suite, which is going to be used on Vulcan. And they're planning to switch the solid rocket boosters that will be used on Vulcan for the ones on Atlas V, or rather the other way. Atlas V will fly the Vulcan boosters prior to them flying on Vulcan. And I believe same thing with the payload fairing. So they're trying to find ways to reduce risk on that first flight and flying hardware that they designed for Vulcan on their current vehicles before Vulcan debuts.
Yeah, I've seen like an infographic about that or something, right?
Yes.
Where it's like, here's the percentage of things that are already flying that are going to be reused on Vulcan, right? Excellent. So are we ready to go on to the Omega
New rocket?
progress?
Another new rocket debuting in 2021.
All
Yes.
right. What's debuting in 2021?
Two new entries to the launch vehicle field. So the Omega rocket from Northrop Grumman, which I had the wonderful opportunity earlier this week to sit down with Charlie Precourt, who's a senior vice president of propulsion at Northrop Grumman and a former shuttle astronaut as well. And yeah, we talked a lot about where Omega is and what it'll be doing and its timeline. They provided us with this epic render of it on Launchpad 39B. But Das, I really wanted to start because when I was digging around and doing this article, I found this really cool video that I wanted to play
Sure.
of Omega to just sort of show you how much heritage this vehicle also shares with prior things and other programs that Northrop Grumman has or is currently doing. And while we wait for that video to load here, it's worth. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Then let's take it away. Yeah.
Northrop Grumman is proud to partner with the United States Air Force and the best suppliers in the country on its Omega launch system. We are counting down to launch in 2021. Our team has more than 4 decades of launch experience. On average, we develop a new flight system each year, including space launch vehicles, interceptors, and targets. Omega uses highly reliable, solid fuel for the boost phases of launch. Omega's cryogenic upper stage uses 2 proven Aerojet Rocketdyne RL-10 engines. Its avionics have flown on more than 100 missions with 100% success. Northrop Grumman designed Omega specifically to address performance, schedule, ride quality, and reliability needs of the Air Force. Omega's design leverages existing facilities, technologies with high technical readiness levels, and an experienced workforce.
5, 4, 3.
Northrop Grumman has completed a full-scale, full-duration static test of the rocket's first stage. We've set up friction stir welding operations at NASA's Michoud Assembly Facility. At NASA's Kennedy Space Center, we are working in the Vehicle Assembly Building and modifying Mobile Launch Platform 3. Winding and cure are complete for the first stage cases for Omega's first flight. The upper stage engines for Omega's first flight are ready for testing. With each Omega milestone, we are counting down to launch in 2021.
There you go, Chris.
All right. So it's a long video, right? But when I was watching it, I was like, this kind of really all encapsulates, a good thing for a presentation of talking about all of the heritage that it shares across Northrop Grumman, like you were just talking about, Thomas, with Vulcan and how the avionics have flown, how different systems have flown back and forth. Because Northrop Grumman is really the leader in solid propulsion technology, and we don't think of solid propellant vehicles as being cheap, right? But in reality, they can compete both on the commercial market and on the government market, which is what Northrop Grumman is doing with Omega. Now, we've gotten a few questions. Das, we can go to the article
Sure.
real quick for this. We have gotten some questions about is Omega's completion dependent on DoD funding? And they actually are funded through their first mission. So Omega is a rocket that will fly. They have also bid it for the Air Forces, or the Space Force is now blocked by contract of missions for them. But this week I really got to sit down with Charlie Precourt virtually and talk about the progress that's going on in Omega, because they're on track for a spring 2021 launch of this vehicle. Modifications to the mobile launcher platform we'll get to in a minute, but it's worth noting that they're designing this mobile launcher as well to be able to fit two very radically different variants of Omega. And if we can go to the Omega 4 segment render here, DOS.
Gotcha.
Because what you're seeing right now on screen is a 2-segment first stage. So the big central core stick is made up of, in this photo now, 4 segments. So that would be the Castor 1200. There's also a 2-segment one, which was the previous render we were looking at, the Castor 600. So they have to build this mobile launcher to be able to accommodate the different heights of the cryogenic upper stage and where they'll need access to on the vehicle. And, you know, testing overall has gone well. If we want to go to the Omega 600 prior to testing thing there, DOS, back last year when they tested the 2-segment first stage of Omega, that nozzle had an anomaly toward the very, very end. If you remember, it kind of went poof, and it looked like it exploded. But what Charlie said is that it actually wasn't an explosion, and it was a ground testing configuration thing only that would never have happened in flight. And basically, what he said is that as the motor starts to tail off at the end when it's burning out, it creates a vacuum inside of the nozzle. And when you're up above the atmosphere, 18 to 20,000 feet up in the thinner atmosphere where this stage is going to burn out, the differential wouldn't have been enough to do anything to the nozzle because it was on the ground and the air pressure was a lot more intense. It actually imploded the nozzle. So they were able to make that fix as well as do some updates to thermal curtains and thermal barriers inside the throat of the engine nozzle there that they tested on the C300 booster, which we had someone at, and we've got a video of that too.
We do.
We do indeed. And as this video is playing, I want to go over some of the, well,
there it
I'll
is.
keep
You got
talking.
it.
I want to go over some of the updates to Omega because the mobile launcher's on track. And they have started construction of the mobile launch tower. They've actually started adding the platform steel braces on the MLP, a mobile launcher platform that is still parked outside of the vehicle assembly building. And of note, they said that because these platforms held the space shuttle and the solid rocket boosters, which these solid rocket boosters, this one that you're watching fire now, the C300 for the second stage of Omega, because that mobile launcher platform held shuttle solids and these are derived from them, it's actually made a lot of the work easier than they had anticipated. So with that, the mobile launcher is still what they refer to as the long pole item. But what's benefiting them here is that there's not a lot of work they have to do inside of the vehicle assembly building. They're not reconfiguring it. They're not building new platforms or access things that have to come down around the rocket. It's really the mobile launcher platform that's going to do all of that for them as they're stacking up. So it'll be very minimal operations. In fact, from the moment the first segment of that rocket arrives at Kennedy, it's 30 days from that segment's arrival to its launch off of Pad B. So they intend to go very, very quickly with the stacking and integration and testing of this vehicle. They'll be sharing Pad 39B at the Kennedy Space Center with SLS. So they will have some pad sharing ops to do. And we got confirmation from them too that they will be using firing room 4 of the Launch Control Center to launch the Omega rocket. So all around, a lot of really, really good progress here for Omega and its first launch next year, including the cryo stage, which will be tested. They're still building it in Michoud, and it'll be ready in the fall to ship up to Plumbrook's facility up in Ohio for thermal testing and ground vacuum chamber hot fire testing as well. So,
Gotcha.
Very good all around from Northrop Grumman.
Chris, I think I think at some point I was supposed to switch to a video about the MLP work, but I was watching the SRB go.
That's fine. Let's go to it now. I was seeing if I could talk long enough to match the burn duration of that booster, but I failed.
Yeah, we still have another minute left in the burn. I'm just watching this thing go, so we'll switch over to the MLP.
Yeah. Let's go to the other one though.
Those SRB tests are some of the coolest things to see. I love when they ignite and the ground all around the test just shakes and all the dust goes flying because those boosters are incredible.
Yeah, they are.
It was. And this is a video of the mobile launcher reconfiguration there. It's very short, but Northrop Grumman was very nice to provide us this video as part of the article and as part of today's presentation. As you can see, just how hard they've been working, and there are the 4 braces for the tower and everything. So, that work's going on outside the VAB, and then later on this year, they'll haul the mobile launcher into High Bay 2 up there.
All right. Cool. Did we get any questions on Omega? Let me go to the queue here and see if we've got anything. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Das.
Oh, I was going to say there was another super chat that came through just a minute ago. Jeff, thank you very much for the $5. Good job, NASA Spaceflight. Question-wise, seeing if anything's going, Seth Kirk. Hey, what's up, Seth? Is Firing Room 4 the same room that SpaceX and ULA Boeing are using for commercial crew? What is Firing Room 4?
No. Okay, so I wish I would have thought about this. Das, could we find a picture of the vehicle assembly building? Outside picture of it.
NASA VAB. Let me Google that for you right quick, and I'm pretty sure I can find one. How's this? We're good. There's a picture of the VAB.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. So you see the little building in front of it that has it's kind of catty corner to it. It's got stairs down the middle of it,
right
down
here?
a little bit, Das.
I just highlighted the launch. Is that the launch control?
Yes,
center?
that one right there.
Okay.
Yep. That is the launch control center. There are 4 firing rooms in there. SpaceX has firing room 1 for pad 39A.
Right.
NASA has one of them, firing room 4 for the SLS rocket, the same one that Northrop Grumman will use. And the other 2 are not currently used by anyone. The launch control and mission control center for Starliner missions off of pad 41 at the Cape actually takes place from one of the operations buildings.
Gotcha.
At Kennedy Space Center, and not in the actual firing room.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I remember when we went through here, you and me were down for the Apollo 50th thing. They had like a media tour day, and I remember standing somewhere in here, right? And am I drawing this correctly? It's like there's big rooms in the building is sort of split like that, right? So do you know, is it like firing room 1, firing room 2? I don't know if I've ordered them in the correct order, but that's sort of, is that how that is?
I mean, that's
cool.
That's basically it.
My stick figure drawn.
I mean, I think it's the reverse of what you did. I think 1 is on the side closest to the baby, but that's basically it. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Gotcha. And they're just like big mission control looking rooms.
Yeah. And we were in one. We were actually in the one that they reconfigured for SLS, which is the same one that Omega will use.
Cool.
Since it's launching from the same pad. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions on Omega or firing rooms or anything like that. So we ready to go on to the next topic?
Yeah, sure. Chris did call that a small building. It's only small relative to the vehicle assembly building, I'd argue. But yeah.
I've zoomed in on some vehicles.
Cars for scale.
Well, some things you just look at the Kennedy Space Center and go, oh, that is small.
If you wanted me to draw a banana on here, I mean,
banana for scale.
There,
required.
it's right around there. I drew it next to the handle of that car, banana for scale, if you needed that.
So yes, that small building. Yes.
Yeah, I guess once I zoomed in, it's like, oh, this is this tiny building when it's next to the VAB, and then you look at it like this, and oh, there's a little car next to this actually quite a big building. All right, so moving right along to our next topic. What is our? Let me find the right screen here. Our next topic, we're going to be talking about ISS crew rotations, right? Who's got ISS crew rotations?
That would be me. We're going to talk about, because there's a lot of crewed missions to the ISS, and all very exciting ones coming up. First of all, we have one coming up just next week. The current crew of the ISS will be increased back up to 6 crew members. Soyuz MS-16 spacecraft launching on April 9th. And this will actually be interesting. It'll be the first crewed Soyuz 2 launch. Soyuz MS-15 and all the ones at least all the Soyuz MS spacecraft before that used the Soyuz FG rocket, but that rocket has since been retired, and we're now moving to the Soyuz 2 rocket. So first crewed Soyuz 2 launching from Baikonur in Kazakhstan, and that'll carry 3 astronauts, Commander Anatoly Ivanishin of Roscosmos on his 3rd flight, flight engineer Ivan Wagner of Roscosmos on his first spaceflight, as well as NASA flight engineer Chris Cassidy on his third. Those 3 crew members will be joining the Expedition 62 crew, currently consisting of Commander Oleg Skripochka of Roscosmos and NASA flight engineers Jessica Meir and Andrew Morgan. Once that crew goes up to 6, just about a week later, April 17th, is the current planned date for Skripochka, Meir, and Morgan to return to Earth. That'll be aboard the Soyuz MS-16 spacecraft, which is already at the station, launched prior, and that landing will take place in Kazakhstan. And then once that's done, the next crew to visit the space station will do so on a brand new spacecraft, and it will come from the United States. Crew Dragon Demo 2, currently planned to occur in May. That launch will bring 2 crew members to the International Space Station. Now, it's not a crew rotation mission, so it's a little different. It'll be a crewed test flight, and will only carry 2 crew members, Commander Doug Hurley and pilot Bob Benkin, both of NASA. And they will be conducting a mission to test out Crew Dragon systems, another test of the Falcon 9 launcher it uses, and will go and dock to the space station, and those crew members will spend a decent amount of time on the space station. This will be the first crewed orbital launch from the US since STS-135, the last space shuttle mission in 2011.
Thomas,
in an interview with CNBC... Oh,
Dude,
sorry, go ahead.
You got to do the thing. You got to do the
thing.
thing.
Do I have... What's the... Oh, God.
What type of rockets? Where are they made?
Oh, American rockets. Oh, no, I'm sorry. American astronauts on American rockets from American soil. Yes.
Sorry.
Jim Bridenstine's favorite saying. Yes, it'll be the big commercial crew moment getting crew to the station from the U.S. But right, in an interview with CNBC, I want to point out NASA admin Jim Bridenstine did say that Demo 2 is going to last approximately 2 to 3 months, and that is driven by when the next Crew Dragon spacecraft will be ready to go, the Crew 1 vehicle. And that'll be the first operational crew rotation mission done with Crew Dragon. That launch is currently expected in the August realm. Of course, it depends on how well Demo 2 goes, as well as how the Crew 1 vehicle processing finishes up. But that first operational mission is going to carry 4 crew members to the International Space Station, 3 from NASA, Commander Michael Hopkins and pilot Victor Glover, as well as mission specialist Shannon Walker. And they will be joined by an international astronaut from Japan, mission specialist Soichi Noguchi from JAXA on his 3rd space flight. 4 astronauts traveling aboard Crew Dragon. That is the standard crew complement on a commercial Crew Dragon mission. Interestingly, there will be no cosmonauts aboard this mission, no one from Russia. Previous plans had expected there to be at least 1 American and 1 Russian on pretty much all International Space Station missions, whether they be commercial crew missions or Russian Soyuz spacecraft. But Russia has pointed out that they want to wait and make sure Crew Dragon is completely proven and completely demonstrated to be safe before they put their cosmonauts on board. So there will be no cosmonauts on the first operational mission. But even though we will have an international astronaut and an additional NASA astronaut to bring 4 crew on that mission, and that will increase the ISS's crew up to 7, which is not something that has happened for some time. Usually it's only been 6 because you need to have lifeboats on board the spacecraft to bring the crew back if something goes wrong. And the Soyuz spacecraft can only hold 3 people. So we're increasing the crew capacity on the station once again, and that's going to increase the science research that can be done and help take workload off of the other crew members that'll be on board the station.
Gotcha. So I think I made it through all of the normal pictures and stuff you wanted to show. What else do we have with the crew rotations here?
I mean, that is the upcoming crew rotations. We have, once Crew 1 is complete, there's also another Soyuz mission in there, the Soyuz MS-17 mission. The schedule's that far out is a little fluid because it really does depend on where Crew 1 falls, based on kind of what expedition those crew members will be a member of. But the near term, we've got a Soyuz and 2 Crew Dragons going up to the station.
Gotcha.
And this is all in combination with a variety of cargo vehicles that'll be traveling to the station, as well as we're still waiting on the next flight of Boeing Starliner spacecraft, whether that's a crewed flight test or an uncrewed redo of the orbital flight test. So more other visiting vehicles going to the station, but there's your crew rotation plans for the next couple months. Gotcha.
Cool. And again, y'all, as we're doing this, if you have any questions about the topic that we're talking about, if you tag us in chat, that's the easiest thing. Just put at NASASpaceflight. I'm over here reading chat. We've got some other people reading chat. So anybody wondering anything, I'm going to just do it this way. Anybody wondering anything about crew rotations? I see one there. Do we know how long the duration of the operational Crew Dragon?
The operational mission, we're expecting it to be around 6 months, and that's all, again, a little fluid. It depends on where all the other visiting vehicles fall in their schedules and just when we need to bring crew off. It's usually a matter of bringing crew home so we can get the next crew up,
Right.
because there's only so much room on the station. But yeah, we're looking about 6 months for operational missions, 2 to 3 months for that Demo 2 test mission.
Gotcha.
Which is still longer than originally planned. Originally, we were looking at only a week mission. They were only looking to plan or to test the Crew Dragon spacecraft, but now they're looking to be at least a little longer duration mission.
Gotcha. So there's two people asking the same thing here. We're talking about crew. We're talking about American rockets. We're talking about Soyuzes going up to the ISS. Does Starliner fit in any of this? Where's Starliner at?
Right. So we're waiting on, of course, Starliner had its orbital flight test last year. And during that flight, it had some anomalies come up. It had a problem with its mission elapsed timer, which resulted in the spacecraft not actually reaching the International Space Station. Still came back safely, but there's some issues that need to be worked on from the Starliner side. And until those issues are resolved, you're not going to have Starliner bringing crew up to the space station.
Right.
NASA is still in discussions whether we can resolve those issues and continue with the crew flight test, which was the original plan after OFT, or if we're going to have to relaunch and do another orbital flight test.
Gotcha.
And again, those investigations are still underway, and there's still engineering work to be done to resolve those issues. So we're going to have to wait and see when the crew flight test could occur, because that would be the next crewed flight. And again, that wouldn't be an operational crew mission. That would be a test flight, just like Demo 2.
Right.
Only after that would you have crew rotations using the Starliner spacecraft, unless there is some change of plans.
Gotcha.
So
go ahead.
One thing that got me with this announcement and everything was really where that kind of shows, kind of passively where NASA is with where are the crew vehicles, right? Because the plan, to my knowledge, was never to have one of them do its crew test flight, but the next flight also be of the same vehicle, right? Like, I think we had all been thinking, because they were more or less on track with one another, that one would do its uncrewed, one would do its uncrewed, one would do the crew test, the other would do the crew test, and the other would do the first one, and the other would. And I think it's just kind of a you know how that goes, that everything just starts rolling.
The plan, surviving the battlefield, et cetera.
Yeah, and how much that has changed to now get us to the fact that we're talking about two Dragons back to back with very short amount of time between their two flights.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah, it's a big, and it'll come into a factor when you talk about Russians bringing their cosmonauts on board the American vehicles. They want to see a vehicle proven. Originally, it was going to be, alternating vehicles, completing test flights one after the other, and then getting into one operational mission, alternating between the two providers. Now it's looking like Dragon's going to get a couple missions in a row at least. And that's going to allow Dragon to be potentially proven faster than it would have before if we're not waiting for Starliner missions. And that might expedite Russia, being prepared to say, okay, we feel comfortable putting our crew on your new vehicles now. So that's going to come into play as well.
And I'm going to be interested to see what this actually does to Starliner's crew flight test, because originally the crew flight test was extended outward to a multi-month mission as part of a way to help bridge the gap between the Soyuz reductions and everything. But now with Starliner not being operational when they thought it would, I wonder if this is just me speculating, but I'm wondering if we'll see something about like crew flight test maybe going back to a 2-week test flight and just going up when a Dragon is there instead. Gotcha. I wonder how they're going to do all of that.
Yep.
But
I think that's
anyway, that's my wondering mind.
I think that's a very plausible thing that could come out of this. If there's not a need to make a test flight longer than it needs to be, they'd much rather finish that mission quickly and get to an operational crew rotation mission rather than keeping a test flight up there for no valid reason.
Gotcha.
So especially, right now the schedule's looking like we don't see Starliner on the near-term manifest. So if we're looking like the first operational Crew Dragon mission could happen before the next Starliner mission, it's very reasonable to assume, Crew Dragon's operational, Soyuz is obviously operational. No reason to make a crew flight test of Starliner longer than it needs to be.
Gotcha. So some more good questions here coming through from chat, and we have a couple more minutes in questions when we're talking about ISS crew rotations, rockets, that sort of stuff. There's a couple we can roll together here, right? What's the biggest number of astronauts the ISS can support? That's one sort of question to talk about. And another one is, are there any Canadians on the first couple flights? And then finally, do we think that 7 will become the new target crew for the ISS, or are we going to keep it around 6, or how do you all think that that's going to happen? So I know I rolled a couple things together there at once, but there's so many good questions in chat.
Yeah, sure. So right now, the standard crew has either been 3 or 6, depending on how many Soyuz spacecraft are currently docked to the station, trying to keep it at 6 as often as they can,
Right,
because
because
that
it's 3 per,
increases.
right?
Yeah, increasing how many experiments you can do. So you want to, right now, the maximum crew has kind of been 6, and that's since the shuttle. I'm going to ask the shuttle nerd, Chris, to help me out with this. I'm pretty sure that the crew of the station hasn't been 7 since the shuttle retired. Is that correct?
It has never been 7 in terms of permanent crew.
That's true.
And it actually has nothing to do with the space shuttle. It has to do completely with the Soyuzes, because the Soyuzes have been, during the shuttle era, they were largely the lifeboats. When the shuttles did crew rotation before the Columbia accident, the Soyuzes then took over exclusive crew rotation in the 3-year period after Columbia to mid 2006. The U.S. kind of rotated one up and one down on every mission after that for a few years. And now we've been back since 2011 to Soyuz being the only one. So you can either only have 6. You can't have 7 because someone doesn't have a seat.
Right.
If there are only 2 Soyuzes, since they can fit 3. We have periodically had temporary station populations of 9 with the Soyuz direct handovers, where the new crew comes up before the 3 old crew go back down.
So 3 Soyuz?
The maximum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The maximum we've ever had on the station has been 13, when there were 6 crew members on the station and a 7-member shuttle crew came up.
Okay.
But the goal has always been 7,
right.
Normal crew of 7, which is what we're now getting to the point of being able to support.
Gotcha.
So a long-winded way of saying, well, we got there, but
and everybody understands that, right? Like, why can't you just have 7 up there if you're just flying Soyuz? And the rule, my understanding, right, Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, but everybody that's on the space station at any given time has to have a seat to get home if something goes wrong. Is that the right way to say it?
Yep.
Yeah, and each
Indeed.
Soyuz has 3 seats. So you don't have 4 people on the station if there's only 1 Soyuz there, because then somebody doesn't have a seat. Something happens.
Right.
There's a massive leak or something.
Right.
They need to go home immediately. They have to abandon the station. That's never happened, right? Nope.
Came close.
Knock on wood.
Right.
Yeah, came close when the Soyuz had its in-flight failure a year and a half ago. But the other thing too is it's worth mentioning that the SpaceX and Boeing vehicles and Dragon and Starliner are designed. They will, under normal conditions, only launch and land with 4 people on board for their crew rotation flights to station. But each one of them can hold 7 in a pinch, and that's in case all 7 crew members happen to be on the U.S. side of the space station, and there's a problem on the Russian side and they can't get there. They can all climb into a Starliner or a Dragon. It would be a tight fit, but it's only a tight fit for a few hours before you're home.
Right. I brought the illustration of the space station
that
back up. So,
Yeah. I think there was another question about, are there any Canadians on board or on these initial flights? No Canadians on the station right now, and none on the flights I just mentioned. I don't know how far out the Canadian Space Agency does their mission assignments. I don't think the MS-17 crew is fully decided yet. I think we're waiting on. Is it? I don't think it has a Canadian on board.
It does not. It has 2 Russians and an American.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So no Canadians on the near-term manifest.
Yeah, and for context for that real quick, that's largely because the crew rotation flight schedule is known for the Soyuzes. So we're always going to have Russians and Americans on those Soyuzes for planning purposes, because the international crew of Europeans, Japanese, Canadian astronauts are primarily going to be the U.S. crew vehicles now. And until their schedules are known, this is why, we knew the two of the 3 NASA astronauts on the first operational flight that Thomas was talking about, the one that'll launch in August. We knew Glover and Hopkins, but the other 2 seats were originally reserved for a Russian and an international partner agency. And Suichi Noguchi got that seat from JAXA, and then because Russia didn't want to put one on there, Shannon Walker from NASA. So those international crew from Europe and Japan and Canada will have seats on the forthcoming crew rotation, U.S. crew vehicles. We just need to wait to see what their schedules are before they're assigned.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I think maybe one more question here. Let me see if we've got anything. Nope, over there. So this is good. We're talking about all these new spacecraft that can take astronauts' crew up to the space station. Are we going to make the space station any bigger if there's all these vehicles flying to it? Or any plans to expand that? Like, if the space station isn't around, where are these vehicles going to be flying to? I think that's a really good question.
Yeah, sure. Right now, the station as it currently sits, is perfectly capable of supporting 7 crew members. Like Chris said, it's supported temporary crews of even more than that. But there are still plans to expand the station a little bit. There is a Russian module, which is planned to launch to the station. I'm not sure if it's later this year or next year. I think that schedule's a little fluid.
Right.
But Russia still does have a module plan to expand their side of the space station. And then just earlier I'm seeing early next year for that Russian module. And then there's also plans that came out more recently for some commercial additions. I'm blanking on the name of the company. It started with an
Axiom.
A. Axiom.
Is it
thank
Axiom?
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a commercial company is planning on expanding by launching at least 1 up to 3 commercial modules to the U.S. segment of the station. And that plan goes into what you referenced, where when the ISS isn't there anymore. They're planning on expanding to the ISS at first,
Right.
and then if the ISS gets retired, they can actually break that away and make it their own commercial space station, fully self-sustaining on its own.
I've seen
and
that.
in the
Yeah.
past, we've seen SpaceX and companies like Bigelow Aerospace talk about using the commercial crew vehicles for missions not to the International Space Station, like
Right.
to commercial space stations, like what Axiom is planning to do. So yeah, once the ISS is done, which again, several years down the line, this isn't a near-term thing. The ISS isn't going anywhere just yet. But in the future, there will potentially be other space stations where commercial crew vehicles can travel to and bring crew to.
Gotcha. Cool. So excellent. Again, y'all, we were talking a little bit about ISS crew rotations there, what's going up and down. Of course, big news there is the SpaceX Dragons that are hopefully pretty soon going to be carrying American astronauts. Oh no, the bottom of the meme is clipped out.
Oh, no.
American astronauts on American rockets from American soil. I had to get that and put that up there. But that is crew rotations, Thomas. Thank you so much for that. I had to scramble and somebody found that for me. So next, the other big news that happened just this week, right? The other big news, the logo that is going to be emblazoned on the side of a SpaceX rocket.
Yeah,
Thomas, this
talking
one's
about
you.
crew missions to the station, the Demo 2 mission is going to sport a very special paint job on that Falcon 9 rocket, and potentially some other parts of the vehicle too. But the worm logo is back. If you're familiar with the traditional, NASA meatball logo, the blue circle with the white lettering, that's kind of NASA's original logo, and it's still their logo. But a logo that was retired back in the 70s has been brought back to kind of celebrate the return of orbital human spaceflight from the U.S. The worm logo is back. It's going to be on the side of the Falcon 9 rocket. And it sounds like NASA's also considering working with SpaceX, trying to put it some other places. So maybe we'll see it on the Dragon capsule or some other parts of the rocket. But yeah, a lot of retro space fans are pretty excited about seeing this new logo or the old logo coming back on some new rockets.
Yeah,
and I know I stole this segment from Chris. Chris was super excited about the new worm logo. That made his day when that announcement came out.
There's no reason you can't both
It really
talk.
did. It really did. I was so deliriously happy when that tweet came out. It's just so iconic. It was a good move. I really hand it to the people at NASA leadership who decided to bring this back. Kudos to y'all. I'm just can't wait to see where it shows up next.
Is there like a so it almost seems like this is a I'm a gamer like a PS4 versus Xbox sort of argument, right? Where which one's better, the meatball or the worm? I mean, I can imagine some people get like phone calls in the middle of the night and somebody just yells meatball and hangs up, right? Is this like?
Can I do that now to you, Dos? Like,
I mean, not to me, not to me. Which one do y'all pick? If I had to ask each of one of you, which is your favorite meatball or worm? Thomas.
Oh, the worm.
I
Sorry.
Yeah,
That's
Chris
okay,
went
whatever.
worm, and I know I'm on the unpopular side of this debate. I'm a meatball fan personally. I have nothing against the. I know I say
Hang
that I'm gonna
on,
get
I
crucified
can mute
on
Thomas.
chat now.
Actually, I can take his camera off.
I did. I put on my worm logo shirt
Okay,
today
we'll
because I
let
wanted
you
to
stay.
celebrate, and I do love the worm logo coming back. But yeah, I'll you know. I don't the meatball logo has a special place in my heart, and I'm still gonna put that as my favorite.
All right, Chris. Sorry, I just like threw it out there. Chris, worm or meatball?
Oh, worm. Totally.
Yeah, worm.
Totally the worm.
Like worm.
Yeah.
No hesitation at all. No, Thomas, you're
Clean
wrong.
clean and classic.
And
not
it was
muddied.
I think this is STS-1 landing, isn't it?
Yep,
Right.
that is the
This is
first shuttle
STS-1,
landing.
yes.
I'm not seeing any meatballs on there. I'm looking. And I just see the worm logo.
Columbia
so...
never had it until 2002 or 2001, but
What a Johnny logo.
but yeah.
Logo come lately or whatever. Like.
They all did for the shuttles. Yeah, they all started with the worm. But yeah, Das, if you can go back to like the regular screen that was behind us, like just the NSF live screen.
Oh sure, yeah. I got that.
Oh yeah, we have
because
we have to
when
point this out.
when we were making the graphics for this yesterday, it was just like, guys, the worm, come on, like we gotta change it to the worm. So yeah.
Shout out to Brady Keniston who put that graphic together using the worm.
And
the worm font.
I think it started as a joke, but then like I think Jack and I both saw it, and at the same time it's like worm, yes, it's worm. You know, this is worth breaking branding for. Like,
I think Space and Racers in chat says that they actually have a tattoo using the worm logo. For real?
Oh, very nice.
So, anyways, chat. Let's do this real quick in YouTube chat. Just really quickly.
Boy.
Worm or meatball, type it out, put which one you vote for in chat. We love all sorts of logos that end up on all sorts of space flight vehicles, and it's sort of a fun thing, right? But whatever makes it into space, I am down to see. Look, there's worm, meatball, worm, meatball, worm. Oh, it's like a worm avalanche here all of a sudden.
Yeah,
worm.
Like I said,
that
I'm on the unpopular side of this debate. And
Chris,
it's very apparent in chat.
Chris B on the official NASA spaceflight account says worm. Anyone putting meatball gets banned from the channel.
Chris is gonna have me pecking my desk before the end of the day.
Clearly unbiased here, unbiased reporting.
Yeah.
I do want to answer. There's a couple questions that we can answer about this. One person did ask if the worm logo will appear on the spacesuits. If you can go back, we have some pictures of the SpaceX spacesuits.
Yes, I can
there are
find
no
them.
worm logos on that from we've seen. So unless they change it, it looks like no worm logo on the spacesuits, but on the Falcon 9. And if they're looking at other places to put it, I'm hoping maybe the Dragon capsule it'll make an appearance.
Yeah.
And then I thought we might have had another question.
And it's not to say that they couldn't change the spacesuits.
Yeah, that's
right.
true, exactly.
You know.
Yeah, I do know. I saw on Twitter somebody asked if Starliner was going to fly it, and Tori Bruno responded, "I'll fly it whatever they want me to," basically.
Right.
So when that starts to fly,
potentially.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, we could see it on Starliner, and some people are asking if it'll be permanent or if it'll just be, for the Demo 2 flight.
Right.
I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I think if Administrator Bridenstine has his way, it'll just be on the rocket and it'll never go away. I think he's a pretty big fan of it.
Right.
So I could totally see it, trying to bring it back and use it more across the agency. I think Demo 2 is a great time to bring it back. Bring it back. I'm going to quote him: American rockets from American soil with American astronauts. There's bring the meme up again.
There it is, right there.
But yeah, definitely could see it on some other vehicles as well.
I think it's going to appear on Perseverance and the Atlas V.
Oh, we did. We saw the font on Perseverance, right? It wasn't, the NASA text, but I think the name Perseverance is in the worm font on the arm. I don't know if we have a picture of that. but
somebody finds it, I
do
can put it
believe
up.
Did make an appearance there.
I edited the meme.
Das was having fun with the
We
meme.
got
Yeah.
American worm logos on American rockets from American soil.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yes.
That's perfect. And the other thing was, I don't know if a lot of us noticed this at first. The in-flight abort test, the patch for that mission, the NASA text, and it says like NASA on one side and crew on the other,
Right.
is in the worm font.
Ah.
So
Yes.
they kind of hinted at in-flight abort, and not a lot of us noticed, I don't think.
I got the
Alright,
Perseverance
so there's
logo
Perseverance,
there.
Yep.
And there's Perseverance. That looks like Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, it might not be perfect NASA font. It's similar.
Yeah. It's the same curvy sort of
Right,
thing.
yeah.
It almost looks like Pegasus at the beginning there, is what I'm seeing. So.
It does. That's what, like, I was like, wait a minute, that's like Battlestar Galactica font there. Come on, guys. Like,
Yes.
images. Totally is.
So any other question? There was any other questions here? That was will the worm logo be permanent? Was the last question there.
Right.
Somebody said I like the idea of using the worm for crewed missions and meatball for everything else. That's
Yeah, there you
cool.
go.
You know, room for all logos. So make the meatball using the worm font. What is
I did see. I've seen people replace the text in
Someone
the meatball
did
with
that.
the worm font.
Huh.
That's out there somewhere.
Oh, there's I want the NASA TV watermark, the little image bug, to be a worm
Oh,
image
right,
bug.
but with the worm.
Make it happen, NASA TV. Come on. Anyways, guys, anything else on the worm logo there? I brought it back to the dragon, or sorry, not the dragon, the Falcon 9 there that has the worm font on the side of it. We good on worm fonts?
I think we're good. I think it might be time to roll into some max Q&A.
We
potentially.
got one more thing before that.
Do we?
What's coming up this
Oh
week?
yeah, sure.
Don't censor me.
Yeah.
It's bad enough you stole the worm part.
Also, we're going to skip the what's coming up next week. So wait a second. This is going to take me just a second. Chris, you've got the event schedule on the screen now, so take it away, dude.
Yeah, so three major events now. It was two until just before we came on air. The CRS-20 Cargo Dragon resupply mission will be unberthing from the International Space Station on April 7th at 13:52 Universal Time. This will be the final time that Dragon version 1 is at the International Space Station and departs it as it prepares for its retirement landing in the Pacific. We wish it well. The next CRS cargo resupply mission from SpaceX will use the Dragon version 2, colloquially called the Crew Dragon, but it will be configured for cargo only in that one. Also this week, a couple days later, we have the next crew launch to the International Space Station that Thomas touched on. Soyuz MS-16 launching on the 9th of April at 8:05 UTC time from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. This one using Site 31-6 instead of Gagarin Start after Gagarin Start was decommissioned after the final Soyuz FG mission last year. And then right before we came online, China, with their wonderful surprise, as they normally do, said to the world, surprise, we are also launching on April 9th. We don't have a specific launch time for that yet, but it is launching from the Xichang Satellite Launch Center in China, and it will be taking the new Santara Dua satellite up into orbit. So that's a quick look at what's coming up this week.
Excellent. Chris, are we planning on broadcasting any of these? Question mark?
We are planning to broadcast the Soyuz MS-16 crew launch, yes, to the International Space Station. We are working out exactly how we're going to do that, but that is our plan to bring you that live stream at the very wonderful time of 4:05 a.m. Eastern time for all of us, but that's how much we love you.
Yeah, well, while normally I would be all game to go to Baikonur and do a launch, live stream a launch, I think this time we'll probably be using some official footage if we work this out, right?
You're 100% correct on that, yes.
All right. So those are the... Oops, wrong one. Oh, no, that's the first time I clicked on the wrong one. Ugh. It's a rookie mistake, and you hate to see it. The first time I clicked on the wrong
20 demerits.
Demerits. Folks, to sort of recap what we were talking about, we started off with Starship testing. We had Mary, Boca Chica gal, taking videos of what happens at Boca Chica down there. We had the Vulcan update talking about the the ULA Vulcan rocket that's coming, and then Northrop Grumman Megan. I can't talk. Does somebody else want to do this? Omega rocket. We talked about some ISS crew rotations, that NASA worm logo returning on that Falcon 9 rocket, and then we talked about the schedule coming up. And we have a few minutes left in the show. I think we've got somewhere around 10 minutes. So what do y'all say that we do some max Q&A? I didn't make a voice changer or anything like that. Everybody's like, just turn this guy off. Should we open up the floor?
But we already got a question for Max Q&A.
I wanted to echo when I say that, Max Q&A, that sort of thing.
You wanted to be Batman.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
We'll work on that. Somebody get my dad off the show. So now, since we have some time left over, we were trying to do some Q&A over the course of the show when we were talking about a relevant topic, having you ask questions sort of in line with that topic. But now we're just going to open it up. We've got 10 more minutes left to chat, and so if you have random questions about random spaceflight stuff, toss them over there. Again, if you do have a question, tag us at NASASpaceflight. That's the easiest way for us to see the ones that are questions versus... well, more of a comment and that sort of stuff if you've ever been to a news conference. But who's grabbing some questions here? Let's see what we've got.
I'm grabbing him and putting him in the queue for you, Das.
Excellent. So really quickly, hey, I'll get the first one here. Has anybody watched Star Trek Picard?
Oh my God, yes.
Don't get Chris started. Yes.
Don't get. So the last 9 minutes will be Chris G talking about Star Trek Picard.
For everyone's sake, I think we should not do that.
Oh, I actually got caught up on it last weekend. We sat down with the family and we binge watched all the episodes. So can't wait till the next season comes out.
I really can't myself. I was a fan of it from the beginning, and I was really excited by what they did with Picard, the topics that they tackled, and I'm really looking forward to a season 2.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So, who came up with the idea of calling it Max Q&A? Not it.
Yeah, I think I brought it to the attention of the NSF people, but at full disclosure, one of my friends in chat, I believe he's watching now, Space and Racers. He did give me the idea. So full disclosure, shout out to him for that awesome name idea.
Nice. Here's a question. Can they use Dragon XL? Oh, so we talked about Dragon XL last week.
Oh, yep.
Can they use Dragon XL for delivering cargo to the ISS? ?
Well, there's no technical reason that they couldn't.
Right.
It's not what it's designed to do, and they kind of have their own Cargo Dragon spacecraft already, what will soon be Cargo Dragon 2. So there's no reason for them to do that, but it's no technical reason that they couldn't. It has the same docking port, has all the necessary propulsion and power systems needed to navigate to the station and back. And I don't know, they might not need, if they were going to do that hypothetically, probably wouldn't need a Falcon Heavy rocket, probably just get away with a Falcon 9.
Right, gotcha.
But there's no plans for that in the works, I don't think.
Gotcha. Okay, cool questions. And again, in the Max Q&A, we're sort of lightning around it. Instead of spending 10 minutes on one question, we're going to try to get as many of your questions as you have. So put them into chat at NASASpaceflight. Tag us to get them. And thank you so much over here for pasting them into the queue here. Let's see. Have we talked anything about the Starship User's Guide? What's the deal with the Starship User's Guide?
Right, we had SpaceX published their sort of payload users guide, which is this document that launch providers give out to their potential customers just to say what kind of loads a payload would experience during flight, what kind of payloads they can handle, sizes and weights. And yeah, Starship or SpaceX published theirs for Starship. It's not as detailed as some other guides that are out there, partly because it's still an in-development vehicle. So
right.
There'll be future versions of the guide that'll have more details in it. But yeah, I think a couple keys off the top of my head. Still planning to launch from both Texas and Florida, Boca Chica, Texas, and the Kennedy Space Center.
Gotcha.
And yeah, some vertical integration plans in works. So there's a couple small details in there.
Cool. It's more interesting stuff that us space nerds like to eat up. It's like, oh, a user's guide. Let's go check it out.
Right, yeah.
Here's one. Are there any plans for Omega to launch Orion?
Not at present, but Orion is technically launch vehicle agnostic.
Okay. which means it can launch on
So
whatever.
Right, it can be put on vehicles other than SLS.
Gotcha. I mean,
Yeah.
not like an Estes rocket or whatever, clearly, but if the vehicle is capable of the mass and size of Orion, it's not designed for just one rocket. Did I say that correctly? Remember, I'm not the reporter.
Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah. I mean, there are things that you'd have to do and potentially modify to the rockets.
Right.
Just like when they took Starliner and stuck it on top of an Atlas V without a payload fairing.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we need a skirt. Like,
Yep.
things like that.
Gotcha. Ooh, Cargo Crew Dragon. What is a Cargo Crew Dragon? And if there's such thing as a Cargo Crew Dragon, when is it launching? Is that...
Yes. So what they mean is the cargo configuration of the Crew Dragon. Because we got so used to calling Dragon version 2 Crew Dragon.
Right.
That I've started calling it the cargo only version of, just to help people understand what it is. That one will launch in the second half of the year, end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, so September, October
2020
this year.
Cool.
Of this year, on the CRS-20 cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station for SpaceX.
Okay. Cool. Let's see here. Deep space transport. Wow, this one's way out there. Get it? It's a deep space transport. Hey, is it still in
here for the
development?
dad jokes.
Yeah, back to getting our dad off the stream.
I'm in charge. I'm the only one who can repeat people from the stream. Like, no, but do we know? The question was: is the deep space transport still in development? Any news on that?
So this is one that wasn't really ever in development. It was a concept that NASA had agreed to study. And as of December of 2019, it was still technically a concept study, but NASA had not officially proposed the project in any annual funding agreements to Congress.
Gotcha.
The other thing this is known as, so the deep space transport is sort of its technical name. For those of you who've been following it along, but maybe not with the official name, the other thing we've been calling it is the Mars Transit Vehicle for NASA.
But that's not an official project that they're pushing forward right now, right? Sort of an idea
not at
still.
all.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. So we have about 3 minutes left, and we still have a stack of questions. Let's continue the lightning round here. Did we hear anything about the SN3 anomaly? We don't have a lot more information from Elon or SpaceX on exactly what went wrong. I think we talked about during the segment it might have been a test configuration issue, but we don't have any more information on SN3 anomaly yet, do we?
Nope.
Okay, so no more official information there. Let's see. NASA spaceflight, since SpaceX will send cargo to the Gateway, will we see them try to land on the moon with the Falcon Heavy? So, Dragon XL, Falcon Heavy, landing on the moon?
No. Cargo Dragon will only go to the Lunar Gateway space station to deliver its cargo and supplies. No landing on the moon for that vehicle, and of course Falcon Heavy won't leave, Earth's atmosphere. At least the lower stages will, potentially land on Earth as long as they can still recover the stages. But no landing on the moon with that vehicle. That would require some other vehicle, potentially Starship in the future or something like that.
And we haven't seen like a lunar dragon design coming up that's a dragon with legs and uses super Dracos or something like that on top of Falcon. We haven't seen anything like that, right?
No. If you go way back, there was the concept for Gray Dragon, which was basically a crew dragon that was modified to support some crew for a trip around the moon. But I don't think that was ever a lunar landing mission. And again, that plan's been canceled anyway. So
gotcha. So real quick, two minutes here. Do you think Starship will ever go to the ISS? Is it bigger than the ISS? I don't have a render.
It would look very similar to when the shuttle kind of docks to the station, where it's this big spacecraft next to this station.
Yeah.
Except like twice the size of the space shuttle. Twice the
It's sort of the rule, like what is docking to what, right? If this massive Starship is there, is it really Starship docking to the station or the station docking to Starship? But no,
it's an
we
excellent
haven't
question,
heard anything.
And it's yeah.
If I had to guess, I would say no.
You would say no. All right. It's a big. I'd love to see a render of that. Like here is the Starship to the size of the station, because there's a big difference there. This was actually a good one that we missed earlier. Any news regarding the Merlin anomaly on the last Starlink mission? And have we gotten any official things saying, nope, that's not going to affect DM2? That's a good question.
Yeah. So okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
Official in that has SpaceX or NASA come out and say there is no impact to DM2? No, they haven't.
Right.
However, here's what I'd say. Nobody's yet heard from a source that it is. Nobody seems to be indicating or acting like it's a problem from either side. In fact, both sides are doing a tremendous amount of work to go, we are still marching forward. It will be May. The question is mid-May or late May.
Right.
I think that passively gives us our answer.
Gotcha. So nobody's come out and did like a press release saying, nope, it's all good. But we do know, and Chris, again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but NASA is very closely involved with all of these things, right? And
we're from the moment it happened,
yeah.
Yes.
So if it was going to have some sort of impact, this isn't like a SpaceX over on the side doing their thing. NASA is right there with them, and they're working the issue, the anomaly together just to make sure. So we haven't heard anything official, though, right?
Correct.
Gotcha. All right, here we are now. We've been going for about 90 minutes, and that is, oh, no way. Look at this. Hang on.
Yeah, Dot, you got it, because I was waiting for someone to find it. Yeah,
yes, here it existed. Yes. Here is the, and I got to switch back over this way. Here is the Starship, a render of Starship to scale, sort of docked up against the International Space Station. So Starship is a big
iteration of Starship, but yeah, gets you a sense of scale.
Right. It's an older version of Starship. Gotcha.
This is when it went through its. Yeah. But I mean, man, that was hilarious. I remember when Elon threw that up on screen the very first time in that presentation, and everyone in the room just started laughing.
Nice. Thank you so much. Back in the control room. Thank you for getting that for us. But did I miss anything? Have we come up to the end of NASA Spaceflight Live here for this week?
I think
we have for episode 2.
All right. Good deal. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Let me do this. Again, we're feeling this out. We're doing these events live. We're trying to get some live Q&A. We don't record it and then edit it or anything. So I appreciate everybody hanging in there with our growing pains. I had some great ideas for the scene here where we'll crop out, I don't know, maybe my taskbar and stuff like that next time. You don't need to see that. So every time we do this, we're trying to make some improvements, right? Trying to make it a little bit better. So now is a great time. If you have any feedback for us here at the NASA Spaceflight team, put it into chat. If you say, oh, I couldn't understand this person when they were talking, or DOS talks too fast, or the graphics, I can never see the graphics, whatever your feedback is, even a time zone. Does the time work for you? You're in Europe and it's 3 something right now, or I don't know what time it is. If you have any question, if you have any feedback for us, comments, just things that would make it better or make it a better viewing experience for you, let us know in chat right now. Just go ahead and toss it in there. We copy it out at the end of every show, and we actually have sort of like a meeting where we sit down and we read your feedback to try and make things better. So hopefully this week's show was a little bit better. Thomas, Chris, you think we did better?
I hope so.
I thought we did too.
I'm fishing for
Out
compliments.
and join us for this.
Yeah,
and if we didn't get to your question,
he's so needy.
I know we didn't get to all of them, so if we didn't get to your question, please feel free to reach out to us on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are on the screen below our name.
They are.
Here.
They're even in the right order.
If we didn't answer your question on the stream, feel free to send a tweet our way, and we'll try and get it answered. Or we'll be live again same time next week for some more stuff. So
that's the plan. And again, hey, one last time, also thank you so much for the super chats. It does take us a pretty good amount of time to put stuff like this together, and we really appreciate your support. When you do the super chats, when you let the ads roll when you're coming in, or whatever, stickers are a thing apparently. We're working on channel memberships, so hopefully we can get channel memberships unlocked at some point in the future. But all these different ways that you support the show, even if it's a retweet. Whenever we tweet out, hey, NASA Spaceflight Live is going, and you just hit like or whatever, sub into the channel here, whatever way it is that you support what we do here, we appreciate you. Absolutely. So thank you so much for the super chats and watching and feedback and retweeting, just whatever it is. Like and subscribe. We're supposed to say that. We're on YouTube, right? But just thank you so much for supporting us and doing that. But there's another super chat from Jared Yock. Jared, thank you so much for the ending super chat there. That's what. See, the trick, guy. We'll just say like, "Hey, as long as they're super chats, we'll stay live," and then we'll see how long they'll keep us. I'm
That
kidding.
only works when we're standing out on a pier asking for beer money, Doss.
It does. We did have a good dinner that night, though. After we saw the
We did. Yes, we
the
did.
ships
Yeah.
come back in. But for now, y'all, that is the end of our second episode of NASA Spaceflight Live here on the NASA Spaceflight YouTube channel. Again, you know how to find us. I don't have to tell you to ring a bell or anything if you want to be notified when these things go live. Also, all of our other launch coverage that we do. But this is us for now, signing off for this week's episode of NASA Spaceflight Live. I hope this part works. Let's see.
Chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.
Chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.
Chamber pressure looks good.
Following up.